Liz McDade, a huge Columbo fan and a small business owner living in Santa Cruz, California. And this is my brother.
I'm Paul McDade, an actor and editor and writer working in the TV and film industry in Los Angeles. And this is Trenchcoat, Cigar, Peugeot, Wandering with Columbo. In each of our episodes, we'll bring you a little Hollywood history, glamour, and behind the scenes as we walk you through Columbo, one of America's greatest TV detective series.
That's right. And today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 4, or 3, if you don't count the pilot. And it's titled Death Lends a Hand, and it first aired October 6th, 1971. And I have a little brief summary. So in this episode, the main character, Mr. Brimmer, runs a detective agency, and he's hired by a big-time newspaper publisher named Mr. Kennicott to investigate if his wife is cheating on him or not. So Brimmer falsifies his report to Mr. Kennicott by saying that his wife didn't have an affair, even though she did. And Brimmer then tries to blackmail Mrs. Kennicott. As long as she leaks information from the newspapers to him, he won't tell Mr. Kennicott about her affair. And Mrs. Kennicott thinks about his offer and says no and threatens to expose him. So Mr. Brimmer, in a rage, strikes her and ends up killing her. Then Columbo, of course, is called to the scene. So Brimmer stages a different kind of murder by dumping Mrs. Kennicott's body, dumping it on a random lot. And that's when Columbo comes on the scene and starts to see that this is all a fake scene. And he starts to narrow in on Mr. Brimmer pretty early on. Did I miss anything, Paul? Anything you want to add to that synopsis?
No, that sounded pretty good.
So the drink for this episode is bourbon, which we'll see in one of the early scenes. And the snack is a popsicle,
Yeah.
which we'll actually see in a later scene. You had a special dinner
Yes.
from this episode.
Yes. My wife, she decided to make the quenelle sole fish, that's spelled Quenelle, that Columbo eats with the character that Robert Culp plays, the murderer.
Oh, man. And Paul, you sent me a picture of that dinner. And first of all, it was such an awesome replica of the meal that we'll talk about. And it looked so delicious.
It's good. I just took a bite.
Oh, nice.
I have celiac, so I can't have gluten.
Yeah.
Because of my intestines are not doing very good. So we used gluten-free flour, but it's like a ball. You make the ball of flour, and then you put the fish inside of it. But making the ball of flour, you have to like poach it. But it's like 3 different big steps with 3 different things that you combine when you bake it. And I got my tomatoes, my asparagus, and then, yeah, it's really delicious. My wife thought it'd be a great idea. And yeah, whoa, it's really good.
Sounds so good. Well, and I'm having some Jim Beam bourbon on the rocks. And then I don't know if you can hear the crinkle. I have a popsicle here. This is a special thing. You know, we kind of avoid packaging, but with the pandemic that we're in right now, it's been hard to get things not in plastic.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I have a lemon popsicle.
I have one in the freezer. And I actually have some wine, too, to go with the fish. So kind
nice.
of an excessive, wonderful dinner here.
I love it. Do you have bourbon, too, or just some wine?
Yeah, I got what you got. I got Jim Beam.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yay.
So I'll take a little sip of that. I haven't had this in a long time.
Yeah, me either. It's not bad, though, once it's on, it melts a little of the ice cube.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked the Irish whiskey and bourbon and...
Just like a nice thing to sip on.
Yeah.
We are supplied here with our snacks and drinks and foods. And why don't we jump into this episode?
Yeah, this is a great episode, I thought.
It is, yeah. The very opening, it literally starts with a bang, several bangs from a gun. And the story starts out in like an indoor gun range at a detective agency, which is run by Mr. Brimmer, who's played by Robert Culp. Robert Culp is one of a few actors who actually recurs in Columbo. He comes back as a villain, or the murderer, I should say, in 2 other episodes, The Most Crucial Game and Double Exposure.
Oh, cool.
Both of those episodes are also among my favorites. I don't know a ton about Robert Culp. You might know more than me, but I did read a little bit about him. So he did some work with Bill Cosby, and they were pretty close friends. And he was active in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. And he actually went to the South after Luther King Jr. was killed. He flew out there with Bill Cosby to participate in the civil rights marches.
Oh, wow.
You might know more about his work than me, but his most recent big role, I think, was on Everybody Loves Raymond. He was like one of the main characters' father or a grandfather, I guess. I didn't actually watch that show, but...
Yeah, no, that was a huge show. Yeah, Ray Romano. I Spy Show with Bill Cosby was really big, and he even did a movie with Bill Cosby, and I'm not sure if they're the same characters. Could have been very different, but I do think they were like, I think the spy one, they were, spies, but the other one is a well-known movie called Hickey and Boggs, pretty popular. It's even in the movie LA Plays Itself, which is a documentary about Los Angeles and perceptions of Los Angeles and location, geography, all kinds of stuff. I highly recommend. It's about 3 hours long. I saw it at the American Cinematheque a long time ago, and it's available on DVD now, or Blu-ray. Robert Culp is a very interesting performer. I watched him in a handful of things recently. I mean, I'd seen him before. He's always very powerful sort of presence, I feel. And I watched a movie with Raquel Welch. It was like a Western called, Hanny Calder. One of the interesting things about Robert Culp is that Universal produced Columbo.
Mm-hmm.
They produced it as a movie of the week.
Mm-hmm.
The first people to do movies of the week was Universal. And this was before NBC owned them. And so all the other companies like MGM and Warner Brothers, they're all like, TV's not going to last.
Oh, wow.
Film is going to dominate. Why would you put money into a TV movie when people want to see it in the big screen?
How funny.
Yeah, so Lew Wasserman, who ran Universal at the time, they had made one TV film that I'm not sure how well it did, but the second one that they did very well, which signaled, yes, let's make TV movies. And that movie was called The Hanged Man, and it starred Robert Culp.
Ah.
Yeah, and it was based on this. Dorothy Hughes was a famous mystery crime writer. I saw the film. It was interesting. I enjoyed it. You could see how it was made for TV, with a lot of close-ups and stuff. But it did very well. And then after that, Universal continued to make movies, and the TV networks went to Universal because they didn't know how to do it. Like CBS went to them, how do we do this? Can you help us? And Universal would put it together. So that's the thing about Columbo, is that it was always a TV movie of the week. That's why it's longer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ironic, but it was produced by Universal. But William Link, who was the other writer with Richard Levinson?
Yeah.
He said, Lew Wasserman, there's a documentary called The Last Mogul, which is about Wasserman, because that's how Spielberg came into the spotlight when Wasserman was head of Universal. And William Link, in the documentary The Last Mogul, they interview Link, and they have him in there more than you might suspect. His information and his words and thoughts are very powerful in terms of his livelihood and what Lew Wasserman and others around him allowed him to do with Columbo. They had so much reign, and that was part of the reason that William Link told Levinson, we need to be the producers on Columbo, because like Mannix didn't quite go the way they wanted it, I think. They weren't producers on that, even though they had created the character, I believe. I guess it was a little more violent. I'm not sure the differences, but with Columbo, William Link was there from picking directors, picking actors, picking the composer, keeping the same production designer maybe. The person who did the costumes, what was that person?
Burton Miller.
Burton Miller, yeah. All the way to the coloring, William Link was there watching the process, making sure that who they agreed with the choices.
Mm-hmm.
It kept their writing intact.
Yeah.
And it helped their writing. So to him, it was like insurance. But it's interesting that the Hanged Man Culp was the lead in that. And
yeah.
He was in 3 other Columbos.
2 others, yeah. He stars in 2 others as the murderer. But in this very opening scene, we learn that he's clearly an important dude. He's telling others what to do and getting reports from them.
Mm-hmm.
He gets from the indoor shooting range into his office, and Mrs. Kennicott is already waiting in another office where she can listen into his office. when you're first watching the show, you don't quite know who's in this other room, who's listening, but he's communicating over a little intercom and telling her that he's coming or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Kennicott arrives into Mr. Brimmer's office to get the report of his wife, whether or not she's been faithful to him. And Brimmer says that she has a clean bill of health. And that phrase will kind of come back to bite him in the butt a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make a little comment about Brimmer's outfit here. I love his tie. It's big, big flowers, light blue flowers and red flowers. And then he's wearing this gray suit with a vest. And he has these square wire-rimmed eyeglasses that have this little yellow tint to them, which feels very 70s to me. It was probably super cool at the time. And that now they look, pretty dated, I would say. But it's fun. I love that, seeing really capturing a moment there, capturing a fashion moment there in Mr. Brimmer.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mr. Kennicott, Paul, shows up in a later episode as the murderer, a different Columbo episode as the murderer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that actor will get to talk about him again in the future. I did want to say that I thought that Robert Culp did a good job in this scene and some others. He has a really nice smile and a really convincing charm to him. So when Mr. Kennicott is feeling so relieved to hear that his wife has been faithful, Mr. Brimmer is sort of smiling along with him, and he does a really good job of conveying that emotion, I thought. Not overly joyful, but just sincere. It felt like did a good job of appearing sincere.
Yeah. On watching it again, I was watching all that. I totally agree. By the way, did you look up the paintings that are behind him or the pictures?
No. Tell me about the paintings.
Well, St. John, my wife, she noticed those are Lichtenstein's.
Ah.
Lichtenstein's paintings, they're based on Monet. Monet's paintings of those.
Oh, cool.
It's like cathedrals in Paris. It's called Ruin.
That's
Paris.
The Monet name, or that's the Lichtenstein name?
I think both, because so it's sort of like a play. He took a picture of Monet's painting.
Ah.
It's called Rouen Cathedral by Claude Monet. Lichtenstein's is called Rouen Cathedral.
That's so cool.
So they're both called Rouen Cathedral.
Wow. I'm seeing it here. So this style of art, it's kind of like giant pixelated pictures.
Like a newspaper.
Yeah.
Like a comic book. Yeah, that's how he did his
Very
work.
Cool.
Lichtenstein. Yeah, some of his work anyway. Or it says Oil and Mag.
Yeah, I'm seeing a picture of them on the website, columbophile.com. I did dig into there to try to get some location information on the last episode.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't able to find it on here. But I did find a map. Someone's created a map of Columbo locations that I found on here. I didn't get who did the set design, but this is Burton Miller on costumes again. And Henry Mancini is still his theme song that he composed. I don't think he composed all the music for this episode, but he did the theme song, I believe. Or the opening.
Yeah, so that's Henry Mancini.
Oh, Mancini.
Yeah, so he did the theme. And the guy who did the score is Gil Millet. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but he's a wonderful composer. He could do electronic stuff. He did a movie called The Andromeda Strain.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a Michael Crichton, based on a Michael Crichton book.
Yeah.
You can listen to the score on Spotify. It's really electronic, some really great pieces in it. The titles are really wonderful, the music for the titles. He did the Night Gallery theme, the series, which Spielberg was the director on. It's a Universal production. He did a movie called The Sentinel, which is sort of an odd, strange, entertaining. Burgess Meredith and some other performers. In The Sentinel, Gil Millet's music was orchestral type of music. It would have these great strings that would go up and down and really cool. He's done a lot of stuff. I really like his stuff. If you watch the Night Gallery titles, I'm pretty sure that's his music.
I was going to say, when you mentioned The Sentinel, I have never seen that movie, but one of my favorite movies, The Burbs, starring Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah.
The Sentinel is a theme that runs through. They comes up in a conversation, and they reference that movie in The Burbs. So I've always wanted to watch it just because I love The Burbs so much, and I feel like I want to know what they're talking about.
Really? What do they say?
One of the characters, I think it's one of the Coreys, is the neighborhood kid in that movie. And he's like, have you ever seen The Sentinel? Ray or whatever.
Yeah, that film, it's like New York actors. It's really well cast. Tom Berenger even, I mentioned him earlier, he was at Herbert Berghoff too. Tom Berenger comes at the very end of the film. Well, the Sentinel's a person who sits at the top floor of this apartment complex. It's like an old brownstone it's an old building in New York, in Manhattan. And this model, she rents a room and she meets all the neighbors, but the realtor ends up telling her, you don't have any neighbors. It's only the guy at the top who's the sentinel, who's like this priest. No one says a sentinel at that point. So it's really weird because she meets all these people at different points. Like they come into her and they greet her. Like Burgess Meredith plays this really unusual older man. He was the coach in Rocky. He's like talking to her, and I think he has like a cat or something. And you don't find out later, all these different people that he met who come into her apartment, they're not there. They don't live there. They're ghosts. Or are they ghosts? You don't know what they are. I won't ruin it, but yeah, it's very strange. Like it has some really good stuff like that where you're just like, what?
Yeah, okay, I found the quote from The Burbs. Corey Feldman plays Ricky. He's talking to Ray. Did you ever see the movie The Sentinel, Mr. Peterson? It's about the old guy who owns the apartment, which is kind of like the gateway to hell.
Yeah.
And Ray says, no, I didn't see that. And Ricky says, well, I was doing some thinking, and being that their last house burned down and all, it's like maybe somebody left the gate open. Okay, we've gone on a little tangent here, but it's cool.
It's all connected, Liz.
Okay, so back to the episode. Mr. Kennicott leaves, and Brimmer goes into the separate office where Mrs. Kennicott has been listening. And he's like, so what'd you think? And she's like, I don't know why you called me here. And he's like, well, isn't it obvious? And this is where he asks her to be his pipeline to her husband because of his role as a newspaper editor. He gets some inside information. And so he thinks that in exchange for him being silent about her affair, she could do him a solid and keep him posted on what her husband is hearing about politics and such.
He's so funny. He's like, yeah, I'm a moralist. He's like, I've been known to be...
Yeah, I know. Right. Clearly.
He's like, contrary to popular belief, I'm actually a moralist or something like that. You're just like, what?
Yeah, I know. I do want to point out that Mrs. Kennicott is so super stylish, and I think that everything about her outfit would be considered chic still today, except her hair. So she's wearing this olive green, it looks like a wool olive green long dress, long sleeves, and it has this cool scarf like draping down the front, like right down the front center. It's kind of like a scarf. And then she's wearing this slim gold belt right around her waist, this chunky diamond bracelet, matching super thick pinky ring, and a thick some other dark metal finger ring.
It matches the painting behind her.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I just thought she looked fabulous. Her hair was more 70s style. She had like really big waves and a part down the center. It's kind of like, shoulder length or whatever. So her hair was maybe not super modern, but the rest of her, I think someone could totally pull that look off today.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, and she had a black alligator handbag, too. Shiny black handbag. Even her makeup was, like, very subtle. It was very, like, subdued.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
I like her reactions with him, too, because she's just like, what? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice behind him, did you notice the statue behind him?
No,
There's a statue of, like, a Greek god pulling a blade, doing archery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that'll come in later. I'll mention it later. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I love it.
It's one of those bronze statues again.
Okay. So she's going to think about his offer. We move on to our next scene, which is at Mr. Brimmer's home, which is a beach house. He pulls up to his home in his car. I did a little bit of digging to find out. I love it when old Columbos are filmed in Malibu. I'm so curious to see what it looked like back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I can find the address, but then you can't really see the home online anymore. There's a giant hedge that's kind of hiding it.
Oh.
But it looks like this house has been in the same hands for many, many years.
Really?
Yeah. So I did a little like poking around on these like realtor websites to try to see like, has it been listed anytime recently? Is it for sale? Anyhow, so what you can see is that whoever is currently owns that home is paying property taxes that would value the home at like a few $100,000 or $400,000. So that tells me that this home hasn't sold for many, many years. It's valued at like $7 million right now. This house might still look kind of like it did other than the hedge. It might look pretty similar today. So Brimmer pulls up to his home, goes inside, and Mrs. Kennicott is in his house. She's sipping bourbon, which is how we picked our drink for the night. Mm-hmm. And she is wearing tight gray dress slacks and a silky cream and brown blouse. And I love that this super nice outfit is what she wore to go for a walk on the beach. Because
good point.
It's like something that I would wear to a job interview.
So Burton Miller messed up there.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's probably like her casual look. That's probably like the most casual thing in her closet is like...
Yeah, no, you're right.
Super nice slacks and a blouse. And then his home has some really cool... I don't know if you noticed the furniture, Paul. I thought it was really cool, like 70s style, kind of low, curvy furniture. And then this super thick green shag. It's like a chartreuse colored shag rug.
Yeah.
So shaggy. I wrote shag for days in my notes about that rug.
Yeah, no, St. John recognized some of the pieces, the furniture pieces, because she used to, my wife, sell 70s type furniture at Luminaire in Chicago. And now they have, they have like Design Within Reach, which is more, it's a chain, basically. We used to have a rug, not quite that, we still have it, not quite that shaggy, but it's that white rug we have. Remember that one?
Uh-huh, yeah. I remember that rug.
So it's not as shaggy as that one, but it's similar.
Yeah.
Definitely art that our dog Yoda blends into.
Yeah, he totally camouflaged on that rug. Yeah, that rug is so awesome. I mean, the shag has got to be like 4 or 5 inches thick. It's just amazing.
And it comes into play later on.
It sure does. Yeah. So in this scene, Mrs. Kennicott tells Mr. Brimmer she's thought a lot about his little offer. She's adamant she's not interested, and she's pretty repulsed by him, and she's going to tell her husband. And this is when Brimmer strikes out at her, sort of a backhanded slap across her face, hits her really hard, and kills her. Accidentally, she strikes her head on a piece of his furniture and dies.
Yeah, I was really struck by the scene where he strikes her and it turns into slow motion and she falls back and she hits her head and the glass shoots up. Yeah, no, I was very impressed by the way that they did that section, because just the way the glass flies up, it's like a low angle of him, of Robert Culp, like she's hitting her head. At first it's a slow motion, it's like a close-up, and then it cuts to his arm moving in slow motion, her face, she falling back, hits her head, the glass shatters. Then they superimpose that glass shattering with Culp looking down at her, all in slow motion. And then they add something even more artistic, very like Hitchcock, very Brian De Palma. And it's his glasses. Well, it's after he checks her, right? And then to see how she is. Mm-hmm. And then he starts deciding what he's going to do after he checks her pulse. You see a close-up of him, and in his glasses, you see him doing the actual cleaning up everything on both glasses, 2 different versions, like a close-up of him opening the garage, low angle of him walking on the carpet, looking for stuff on the carpet. So his glasses become TV screens, but you still see his face. Mm-hmm. And when I saw this the first time, I was like, oh, this is so different. It's cool. It's very powerful, very strange. And as I said, like Hitchcock or Brian De Palma and so many other filmmakers, you still see his face, which if this was not television, because television was the size is 4:3 and television now is 16:9. If it was 16:9, you could have pushed in closer and just seen the glasses. I think that would have been stronger, mm-hmm. because in the 4:3, you see his nose still, which isn't terrible because you're still looking at the 2 different frames of his glasses with the different action, him cleaning the window or the sliding door, him cleaning her hands, getting the rings off, that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I was really impressed. And I was like, was this the director? His name was Bernard Kowalski. And then I thought, well, maybe it's the editor. Edward M. Abrams. I watched some of Edward M. Abrams stuff, and he directed some of the Columbo episodes, but he did a Night Gallery episode, and it was the pilot that he edited. I don't know if he edited other Night Galleries. And Spielberg, the Night Gallery would have like 3 different stories on it sometimes just 2. There's one in there, that's the one with Joan Crawford, where Spielberg almost got fired, supposedly, or something along those lines. But he edited that one. It was called Eyes. And Joan Crawford plays this blind woman who wants to get her sight back. But there's a scene in there where I think she falls and glass breaks, and it's the same type of thing. This glass shoots up in the air, really cool looking. So I'm not sure which one came first, but either way, in Columbo, such a cool scene.
Yeah, it was really cool. Even though that the whole, what we were seeing was a little gory, it was a really cool way. And maybe it made it a little bit easier to take in, to see it in the glasses. And I just really appreciated that sort of extra effect there.
Yeah.
To kind of walk us through all those steps. Yeah, super cool. We'll have to write to somebody who might know. Who was this, the editor? Was this the direct?
Well, I think it was Abrams, because in the Night Gallery episode, he was the editor on that, and it was the same type of effect.
Okay.
My guess, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then we see him driving off to ditch her body, and, it's clearly a very cold thing for him to do, but you can also get a sense for his panic a little bit, and what he's done here and how he's got to try to fix it or hide it, I guess.
Yeah.
In the next scene, we see Columbo. So this is basically like the third scene of the episode. He's driving down the road in his Peugeot, his cigar, and he gets pulled over. This might be like the first of the many, many Peugeot jokes that come, or not necessarily a joke, but like jab at his car. Because I think the previous episode was the first time we actually saw his car.
Yeah.
When he parked it up at that little mountain store, Lysenko's mountain store. And then this scene where he gets pulled over because something's not working correctly, I think it might be the first time that we start to learn about the disrepair of his car. And yeah, it's kind of a fun little first moment here.
Yeah, it's very funny because he knows what the problem is, and the cop patrol guy is, dude, you got to fix this.
Yeah.
And before he knows it's a lieutenant.
Right. So then the cop is like, well, I better escort you so you don't get pulled over. And Columbo's like, don't go too fast.
Oh, yeah.
So they end up at the junkyard or whatever this abandoned lot is where Mrs. Kennicott's body is found. And this is where he notices a very interesting or like unique cut on her cheek. And this is where, Paul, you and I were going to talk a little bit about, so, we're filming this in July of 2020. And we were going to talk a little bit about sort of the Black Lives Matter movement and the role of police in the media or police portrayals in the media. And just sort of, I have just a couple of things I want to say. One is that it's so important how police are portrayed in the media, that really impacts what we think is okay for them to do in the real world. I was listening to The Daily Show with Trevor Noah recently, where his staff created a compilation of scenes of police in TV shows and basically abusing prisoners or suspects or people they had taken into custody. And they're seen again and again kind of breaking the rules, basically, and how that really impacts what people think is okay, or even what cops might think it's okay. That basically media does, unfortunately, tend to convey a lot of police misconduct in a culture that, now we're seeing, well, we have been seeing for years, but right now it's really at the forefront of everyone's mind, the way that police killings have targeted Black men and people of color. So yeah, that's one thing. And then the other thing I want to say is that Columbo tends to not do anything like that. I think that's one thing that makes him more likable, is that he doesn't carry a gun. We don't really ever see him lay a hand on anybody. Definitely a part of this TV detective history. So I think it's just good to acknowledge that.
Yeah, because he's a lieutenant. He deals with the murders. Yeah, everything you show on television, as you know, it has an effect on the viewer. Whether it's a character who's a little sister who's very extremely bratty, it's going to influence who watches the actor's portrayal writer's portrayal, the director's. Just the media in general, the news will jump on. I mean, since I was a kid, I always remember that the news would portray African Americans. This guy was arrested, and it's a mugshot of an African American guy, and it's so persistent. And then in portrayals, when people just see that, and if they live in a small town and they're not getting out, they have a certain thinking of it. I mean, Robert Townsend, the filmmaker, in his movie The Hollywood Shuffle, he's an actor in the film. It's a very funny film, but there's a poignant scene where he's talking to one of his kids, and they're like, "Dad, are you going to play another mugger or another drug dealer?" I forget what the scene is because I haven't seen it since I was in college, but I love the movie because it was funny, but it was also very sad at the same time because, Robert Townsend was talking about that's all he would ever get, obviously, playing a drug dealer or...
Yeah.
Something like that. And so he makes fun of it in The Hollywood Shuffle, and he does it really successfully. A feature that I edited called The Education of a Negro was directed by Ryan Culver, who is African-American, and he wrote the script of it because of the Philando Castile case.
Mm.
And he was so upset. That's his hometown.
Yeah.
And he's from Minnesota. He lives in Dallas now. In his script, there's a corrupt type lieutenant. He's in the beginning of the film, he rapes a woman, and Ryan based him on this actual police officer, and I think he was in Minnesota, who was raping all these African-American women.
Oh my gosh.
And he had his badge,
Yeah.
So anyway, this, ironically, he has at the end of the film, he has this lieutenant talking to one of the main characters about his favorite TV show, and he says it's Columbo. And he's like, "Oh, you got to watch Columbo. It's good stuff."
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and so the lead, Kenny, who's African-American, he likes another show. I wish I could remember the name of the show. I meant to ask Ryan, what he actually thinks about Columbo. Does he really feel poorly about Columbo? And that's why he's having this awful villain talk about it so much. The Glass Shield was a film by Charles Burnett based on true incidents of this very corrupt police station here in California. It was a Hollywood film. It wasn't the biggest budget, but, it had big stars. Laura Petty, the guy who was a $6 Million Man, the main detective in that. It was a good movie. And, I saw it in Alabama, so, it had distribution.
Yeah.
That was a very good film that made it into theaters that showed, I think, was accurate portrayal. I'm sure Columbo could be critiqued in a way that was not flattering, but I think for what it is, I think it's more positive, than anything, than negative in terms of what it shows with police officers.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. So let's move on to the next scene after Mrs. Kennicott is found at the junkyard or whatever. Now we're at the morgue where Mr. Kennicott has arrived to identify her body. And Columbo gets him a cup of instant coffee from a vending machine, which I love. Have you ever had vending machine coffee, Paul?
I think I have, yeah. I think I did like it. Where was I? Maybe in, I want to say Milwaukee, when I lived in Milwaukee, or somewhere I tried it. It might have been Germany when our parents moved back to Schweinfurt. Mm-hmm. Somewhere, I can't remember where. And yeah, I was very disappointed. Oh, you know what? I think it was here. I think it was in Los Angeles at one of these post-production houses that does reality television. I want to say someplace like that at some point in one of their buildings where they probably had other businesses. I think I had something like that. I wish I could remember, but yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, I have never had it, but I can't imagine it would be very good. But anyhow, in this scene, Columbo gets a little background on Mrs. Kennicott, trying to get a sense for maybe, how this might have happened. And this is where Mr. Kennicott uses that phrase, clean bill of health. He asks, did she have any affairs or whatever? And he says, no, she had a clean bill of health. The other thing I wanted to say about this scene was I love seeing all these old vending machines in the background.
Yeah.
They're just from a different era. They're all the same color. They're like a cream or like a light beige. One just says candy and one says soft drinks. They're not branded at all. Super simple buttons. They're not like super bright and neon.
The candy machine by the stairs just says candies.
Yeah, I love that. So if anyone wants a little slice of history, Google vending machines from the 1960s and you can kind of get a feel for what they used to look like. I love it. Well, the next scene is at the Kennicott house. I went down a rabbit hole on this one, Paul.
Uh-oh.
So this is filmed at North Beverly Drive in Beverly Hills. This is all on IMDb, but the address is 1011 North Beverly Drive. And this is a super famous location.
Was the exterior the same place? The exterior shot? Like the front of the house from the corner? There's like a really weird shot that kind of pushes in at an angle, but you don't really see the front of the house. It's very strange. It's almost like the pickup shot that they did. They're like, oh, need to have a shot of the front, and then someone ran out with a 16-millimeter camera. It's right before they're in the backyard.
Actually, you know what? I can't confirm. I think that's the same building, but I don't totally remember.
It might make sense if they just grabbed a shot without telling the owner.
Totally. So, did you recognize this house, Paul, from other films?
It looks familiar, but I couldn't tell you what film.
Well, The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner.
Oh, you love that one, didn't you, at one time?
I love that movie. So this is the same house.
Oh.
It's also in The Godfather.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's the home in The Godfather where, I don't know the characters, but someone wakes up with a horse head in his bed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, classic. Yeah. That's his house. Okay.
This is the house. And it's also in the movie Fletch, but I don't know what scene it was in there. But I'll just tell you a little bit of history. So it's known as the Beverly House. It's on about 3.5 acres. It's got 18 bedrooms and suites, a 2-story library, a formal living room. This is from some real estate website. I think it was either on the market or was on the market recently. So formal living room with 22-foot high hand-painted ceilings, billiards room with an intricate ceiling and fireplace that are both from the Hearst Castle.
Oh.
This house was designed by Gordon Kaufman and built in 1926 for a banking executive named Milton Getz. And then in 1946, 20 years later, it was purchased by Marion Davies, an actress, who bought it for her lover, American media mogul William Randolph Hearst. So Hearst lived in this house with his mistress, Marion Davies, because he never divorced his wife, until he died about 5 years later. And then this info I got from a website called fancypantshome.com. So what it said was that their love affair and the wealth that surrounded it was highly publicized. And according to this website, Orson Welles' Citizen Kane was inspired by the Hearst and Davies story. I don't know if that's true.
Citizen Kane?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Oh, it was? You know that? Okay.
Yeah, that's very well known. Because they didn't like each other. Orson didn't like him.
Okay.
They were at a dinner together. And have you seen Citizen Kane?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
Well, like even the name of Rosebud, which was the name of, like the sled he had. Uh-huh. He always wanted the sled.
Yeah.
Well, Rosebud was the name for Marion Davis, her private part.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That her, somehow Orson Welles got that and I'm going to put this in and show him.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we went to the Hearst Castle. They do tours there.
Yeah.
It was opulent like this with the Roman style stuff, but it was just stuff didn't fit. It had these really big pieces from all around the world, crazy. It just felt...
Yeah, it is crazy.
The thing I did like, but was still kind of spooked by, was get to see the theater that he had. He has this theater in one area of the house.
At Hearst Castle?
Yeah. And then he has this pool that's sort of underground, where a garage might be, but it's huge. The pool is has hallways. You can swim down a hallway. And I don't know if they kept the light that way.
It's crazy.
But it creeped me out. I love swimming, but I hate swimming at night into some place like that.
Yeah, that sounds creepy.
It was opulent. The tile on the pool was a certain design, but all these little pieces. I love the pool of that Hearst Castle. But other than that, I only did the cheap tour.
Yeah.
You pay more, you can see the other section. But the other stuff was it was like these Roman pillars, you know what I mean? It was just really excessive and doesn't look good to me at all.
Yeah.
If I had this much land, I would never want this much land, but just the pillars, it kind of has the whole Greek god sort of mentality or something bizarre. I don't know. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I could see that. I haven't been there, but I'd love to someday visit Hearst Castle.
But just like the pillars that are in this Marion Davies's place, like those pillars where he's eating his breakfast.
Yeah.
Those are just like...
Right. Yeah. So this, if for anyone who can't picture this in their head, it's that what we see is like a large pink estate with these 3 long rectangular pools that stretch from the house down along the backyard in a line away from the house. What you're describing, Paul, is these 3 structures with these like white pillars or columns that kind of surround the pool. The pillars come up to these arches, and there's like some pink around the arches, and there's lots of large like white goddess type statues all over the yard. And yeah, it definitely has that feel of like some kind of Grecian goddess, I don't know, castle type environment or something. Not castle, but just has that opulent feel to it.
Yeah, it's like you're not at a home, you're where the king lives or something.
Yeah, totally. And so Kennicott is sitting out there enjoying his breakfast in the blazing sun, about a 20-minute walk away from the house. I love that idea that like someone has laid out a breakfast for him and he has to walk many, many steps to go enjoy it in the hot sun. And there's a phone out there too by his breakfast. I mean, at our house, we're lucky if we step like 7 feet outside to sit down and have a meal.
Is he a newspaper tycoon in this? Is that what he is?
Yeah, he's a newspaper tycoon.
Which is what Hearst was.
Just like Hearst. Yeah, maybe that's how they picked the house.
Yeah.
For this. So this house is either on sale or was on sale recently for $125 million. So we should rush out there, Paul, you and I. So I got to see some modern, what it looks like today photos, and it actually looks pretty similar, but they have added more buildings in that backyard area.
Oh, really?
I didn't look at the inside, but the backyard still has those same pools, and they've just built it up a bit more. And the owner has been trying to sell it for about 10 years. They've been trying to get rid of this house. This is the problem, Paul. This is why I'm always telling you, don't buy these $125 million estates, because when you're ready to sell one, it's really hard to find a buyer who wants exactly what that is, who doesn't want to just like build their dream home from the ground up,
Yeah, I'm going to have to keep that in mind. So if you say so, I mean. When I'm ready to buy.
Okay, yeah, keep it in mind. Anyhow, so Columbo goes out there, greets him where he's having his breakfast, starts to share some of his insights, and then Kennicott gets a call on his outdoor phone, which must be on like a 2,000-foot cord. He's like, well, let's go inside. So then they enter the home. They go into a large room that has deep red carpets, red drapes, super ornate furniture, like dark wood with gold trim, large fireplace. It has a very like fancy feel. And there's some old National Geographic magazines on the coffee table, I noticed.
Oh.
And this is something that I noticed about the whole episode, that it's a little bit darker. Like the feeling of the rooms and the spaces are a little darker for the most part.
Yeah, it opens up when Investigator Brimmer's shooting the gun. It's almost dark and you only see like the flares of the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Very first scene, which is really great because you're kind of like thrown in the middle of the scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, right here when this scene, when he comes to the room, one of the last parts in this room, you can't even see Columbo's face when he's with the 3 of them. It's like a 3 shot and Columbo's in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's really dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that. And like the opening scene, like in Mr. Brimmer's office, it's not as dark, but just everything feels darker than some of the other episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Columbo here meets Mr. Brimmer. Oh, this was a scene where I thought Robert Culp did a really great job. Like his performance was really good, really excellent.
Yes.
So Columbo's being Columbo, and he starts talking about how he meets Mr. Brimmer. He suddenly feels more optimistic, and he's superstitious. And I can't remember, maybe he tells a story or two about how he's superstitious, the things he believes in. And Robert Culp as Mr. Brimmer is so good at balancing like being polite, but also like smirking just a tiny bit and being just a tiny bit uncomfortable with it all. But he's like trying to be so polite because he's a professional and Columbo's a professional. So he has like a little smile and they humor Columbo. They're very polite to him, but you can just feel that sense where they're like, this guy's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. With the whole palmistry stuff.
Yeah.
So in his dialogue with the palmistry, he says, let me see your hand. You see, Mr. Kennicott, that's your fate line. That was your bad fortune. But it picks up again. Columbo says all this. And that's interesting. That's a very good omen. And then he goes to Investigator Brimmer. He touches his hand before he even asks him.
Totally.
He says, deep line of Apollo. That's a man devoted to his work. Your Apollo line crosses the mound to the moon. You know, that's very rare and very impressive. So Apollo is the god of archery. And that's that bronze statue behind him in that room.
Oh.
But the irony is that Apollo is also the god who affords help and wards off evil. So supposedly Apollo is the averter of evil. But he says some other stuff, which I don't know anything about palmistry. I looked it up, just curious about that sort of thing. And it's very specific. You know, like I was reading, I found one thing about it. What do you think? What do you make of, I don't know if we want to reveal anything right here about the end. How would he know about, he says, your Apollo line crosses the mount of the moon. I mean, that's very specific. Do you think his wife was into that, or he really is? He's like, I'll make a believer of you yet.
Yeah.
Do you think he's just completely or do you think he, like, how does he know some about that?
Yeah.
He even says another thing to Arthur Kennicott. He says, large thumb, low mount of Venus means ambition. You know what I mean? Like, that's very specific.
Yeah.
What did you make of that dialogue?
You know, in my mind, I was thinking that Columbo does have all those bits of trivia in his head, that he actually does believe in that and like has done some of that. Maybe his wife believes in it too.
Okay.
I mean, he's clearly using it because he wants to also hold Mr. Brimmer's hand.
Right.
So he's using it, but I don't know. In my mind, I was kind of convinced, yeah, Columbo seems like the kind of guy who might dabble in that a little bit, you know?
Yeah, okay. I was just curious. You know Columbo better than I just love the scene. Like, I was so taken aback by what he said, and then, like, he goes into the closet, like, thinking it's the exit.
Yeah.
It's just so freaking funny.
I love that part.
He's like, maybe they're just doing things differently at the police department now. You know, it's just so, they're like, this guy's an idiot, you know? Like,
yeah, I know.
And poor Mr. Arthur Kennicott, you know,
this is the guy helping me? Yeah, totally. And Columbo looks so short in between those two guys in this scene. I think they're both pretty tall people. And he's just like short, and he's talking about palmistry, and then he walks into the closet, and yeah. It's pretty funny.
So good.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he made it all up. It felt so convincing the way all his little bits of trivia that he had.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. When I initially saw it, I felt like he knows this stuff.
Yeah.
Whether he's like a huge believer, I don't know, but he knows the existence of it from on his own, maybe his wife.
Yeah, or someone in his family, a cousin, a nephew, who knows, you know?
Yeah. Who was the one he was jealous of? Was that an uncle or a cousin?
I think it was his cousin, Ralph.
Yeah. Maybe it's Ralph.
My cousin Ralph. His name is Ralph.
Yeah, and if you notice, as they walk into the room and as he makes his way to the closet, there's other statues flanking him by the windows. Those could very well be Venus. I'm just off the top of my head right now, because he does mention low mount of Venus means ambition, purposefulness, when he's doing his mentioning the thumb thing. I have a feeling that's what that bronze statue is.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so that would be Archie J. Bacon. That's the art director.
That's this art director?
Yeah. And the set director is Richard Friedman. So between the two of them, I don't know how they worked that out, but maybe that's all Friedman. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those individuals really, I love that they put that stuff in there.
Yeah, you know, I've been listening to this other podcast called The Office Ladies. I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show before, but it's Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey from The Office talk about what it was like to make The Office, and they walk through the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about these details. It's like what you're pointing out to me, you know, like the statue of Apollo and Venus and how it ties into this palmistry trivia from Columbo. So those kinds of details that someone is doing behind the scenes are also happening on The Office, where there's just one thing where that I'm remembering right now, where one of the main characters, Jim, has his sleeves always rolled up when he's in one location, when he has his heart set on Pam, the main character. I'm probably messing this up, but basically just the way they set up his sleeves changes to capture what's happening in the plot of the story, which is like,
cool.
It's such an amazing little detail. And one of the viewers wrote in and asked, is this what's going on with the sleeves, with Jim's sleeves across these different episodes? And they were like, yes, the costume and the writers talked about, made this decision, spent energy figuring out this tiny detail to reflect the plot. And like a tiny detail in what you see as a viewer that harks back to some kind of plot line or something that's happening in the story, which I just think is really cool. I never really noticed those things until I started, digging into Columbo a little more, and then also listening to that podcast a bit more about how all those little tiny details happen. Probably doesn't happen on every show or every movie, but I think clearly it happens in some where someone's really paying attention to those details.
Yeah, it's a very collaborative effort. As I said, with William Link and Richard Levinson, they worked with some of the same people like Burton Miller, sometimes the same directors, sometimes the same actors, but they understood certain things. The commentaries, I like to listen to directors. I just watched a film and the director was saying how she and the editor chose specific things, and the composer, she asked the composer if he could use these type of instruments because the location where they were was like a horror thriller, but it was set in Big Sur, and they used instruments for like soothing, those bowls that you rub, but it's a thriller film. And so she wanted those sounds, but she wanted it to be menacing. Real clever film called Always Shine. She's done a new film called Black Christmas, but Always Shine was really good. She came up with the idea, she wrote it. It's amazing, yeah, just like the detail that makeup artists will do when they love movies and film, they'll dig into that. Or actors like the raincoat with Columbo. Like on Extreme Makeover Home Edition, when I worked on that, I remember watching the people who helped with the designs. I never spoke to them, but I would see them working on designs that they were thinking of. There's a lot of detail that they're really working on. Like they would be right across from my little bay. There's this one person in particular. And I always wanted to like just stand behind them and watch what they were doing because I could tell they were just intensely focused, And then they had to bring it to fruition once they started filming.
All right. So now the next scene is at the golf course. It was filmed at the Hansen Dam Golf Course, which is still there, and it still looks pretty scenic. And here we meet a new character named Ken Archer, a handsome fellow, teaching someone how to golf, a woman. And she's wearing white golf shoes, some knee-high socks, tiny orange shorts under a long orange vest, and a white lacy blouse. I'm guessing that this was a golfing outfit for women. And Ken is wearing a chartreuse shirt and cool sunglasses and gray slacks. And he's got these really cool golf shoes. They're like wingtip, white and brown Oxfords. The two of them are pretty styling out there.
Oh, yeah.
So Columbo goes right in to make this guy uncomfortable, questioning him about whether or not Mrs. Kennicott was on the lookout for other guys. And I thought that Archer had a pretty good response. He said, I play in their tournaments and I teach them to golf, but I don't get involved in their private life.
Yeah.
Kind of made me wonder, like, has he had to answer this question before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Columbo gets him to give him a lesson. During this time, he plants a seed with Ken Archer that he suspects something. And then the next scene is back at the agency, Mr. Brimmer's detective agency. Columbo comes in and has case files for Mr. Brimmer. And he lays out the facts of the case that he's pulled together that also are connections to Mr. Brimmer, like the fact that the killer was left-handed, the killer has a temper, the killer wore a special ring. But I love the way, this is like a classic Columbo trait, that he's about to say something really important. He's like got the person's attention, and then he stalls. And then he like pauses, he like asks for a light, or he notices the china, or, notices something. And then the other person's like, get back to what you were saying. Like it's a really excellent little trick up his sleeve. He uses a lot in a lot of the episodes.
Yeah. It was a good scene. The one thing I thought, like, after that scene, watching it the second time, I almost felt like it was so on the nose what he was telling him that Culp would just be like, he knows.
Yeah.
You know, that was one thing I felt like on the second viewing, the way that he behaves, Culp is, he runs this intelligence agency, which, by the way, I'm thinking like this was in the 70s. And when Columbo gets the tour and everything, these things have way advanced beyond police stations, and agency from different countries, have built little empires like his. But you don't hear a lot about these types of places, even though they're that much more powerful now.
Yeah, I can imagine, for sure.
Like, Harvey Weinstein, he had hired all those company called, I forget the name of it, but it's Black something. And they were like Israeli intelligence agencies, people who know how to spy and that kind of thing.
Whoa.
That's how he had so much information on people. But those types of groups are, pretty powerful, companies and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, I could imagine.
Because this is like 1971, and it's very specific, like during the whole tour. Just saying, like, it seems like Culp wouldn't take any chances with the information with Columbo's telling him. But maybe that's part of his downfall, is that he thinks he knows everything, obviously.
Well, what could he do with the fact that Columbo knows all of this? I mean, what could he do, though? You're saying he wouldn't take chances, but there's not much he can do at this point to kind of slow Columbo down,
Well, I mean, why would he think Columbo would want to work for him?
That's true.
That kind of stuff, where it kind of continues the story.
Well, maybe he thinks Columbo is corruptible.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point, because obviously
he's trying to buy him off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say about that. So Columbo lays out what he knows without directly saying, I think it's you. And then he leaves.
His reaction about the hitting, remember? Culp's reaction? That's pretty fierce. Remember how he's like, or maybe he would hit him like this. And he like...
Yeah, that was good little intensity,
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, they're going to hit each other?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like fine line like Columbo has, right? It's almost like, then he pulls it down like, oh yeah. It's very much like how Columbo's playing him, sort of a reaction to Columbo's playing him,
Yeah, and I thought Brimmer looked pretty dejected after Columbo leaves.
Oh, yeah.
He sort of sits back in his chair. And then the next scene is back at the golf club at the end of the day. Oh, I had a comment here about cops on TV. So Ken Archer is packing up for the day at the golf club, and he gets into his car and finds Columbo is sitting in his car in the dark. Out here we're just saying Columbo's pretty good. So this is probably one scene where Columbo's probably not really supposed to be doing that, like breaking into someone's car and sitting in there waiting for them in the dark. But, he's lighting a cigar. He's very casual and as non-threatening as I guess he could be. I mean, I would be scared out of my mind if that happened to me. But Archer starts to spill the beans, and we see that the two of them are actually being followed by Brimmer's people. I wanted to point out a little old technology here. There's a car phone, and I had to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole about the car phone because I was like, is that real? Did they really have car phones? But yeah, actually they did. And it made its film debut with Humphrey Bogart in 1954 in the movie Sabrina.
Oh, okay.
Sabrina, probably. By the 1970s, car phones were a lot more prevalent. Still definitely a luxury type, not everybody has it kind of a thing.
Yeah. I was going to say, Ken Archer, he's a very interesting actor. So he did another film that year called 4 Times That Night. It was made by a sort of an exploitation type director called Mario Bava. I don't know a lot about Mario Bava, but I'd always heard about him through the years. He did like a lot of slasher films in the 70s, and the 60s, the 50s, like Bay of Blood, Evil Eye, Black Sabbath, Blood and Black Lace. Brett Housley, might still be working because the last film he did was in 2015. Yeah, but if you look at his career, it's like, whoa, he was in The Godfather Part 3. He did voiceover in X-Men, the animated series. Had a really wonderful career and longevity. But that film I watched, it was called 4 Times That Night. It had some misogynistic scenes, but it was sort of like a Rashomon type story where you see the same event happen differently from different points of view. And he plays the main character who's sort of chasing women. He follows this girl in a park, and they end up going out. He ends up meeting the girl's mother. So the mother has a point of view of what happened. Anyway, he was really different, like really different in that film. He was like suave and scary, and he's a very good actor because I've only seen him in these two things that I can recall. But he's so different and so good in just this little small, I mean, it's two big scenes, but I think he did some more Italian stuff. So I don't know if he speaks Italian or they were just filmed in English. But it sounds like he has a bit of an accent in this, but you have to listen carefully. But I could be wrong because I think he was born here in California. Yeah, it says he's born in Santa Ana, 1933. If you look at his work, he's done so much stuff.
That's cool. I didn't know all that. Yeah, I thought he did a really good job too. I feel like he didn't get a lot of lines or like, you know, a lot of opportunity to show off his skills, but he was super convincing, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the lunch scene with the fancy food. So the next scene is the next day back at the firm. Columbo gets a tour of the firm, and one of the employees, one of the lower level detectives, is giving him the tour and starts to gossip a little bit about a client. And this is where we see Brimmer's crazy temper.
Yeah.
It's just like flips his lid, which everyone is just super uncomfortable with. And then Columbo sits down to join him for lunch. There's a beautiful lunch arrangement. So really fine china, wine and water glasses, silver platters, very like luxury. I love all the Columbo food scenes. They're like my favorite. And I love the way they plated the food back then and just seeing the way things have changed over time, the way fine dining has changed. I made some notes about, because I was so excited, I had to pause it and like make notes about what this lunch scene was. There's a little plate, a plate with different small bread rolls, a silver platter full of the giant pieces of fish, and then a bouquet of asparagus propped up between them, just like St. John, your wife, did. This awesome like bouquet of cooked asparagus. I love it. Straight up in the air. There's a plate of tomato slices on top of lettuce, and then a plate of desserts. It kind of look like different donuts and cookies. How do you say it, Paul? What's the correct pronunciation of the fish dish? Quenelle?
Quenelle, maybe. Yeah, it's Quenelle.
Okay, I'm writing it down. This will be in our show notes. So it's so cool you guys had the real deal. It looks delicious.
Yeah.
What's in the show and then what you enjoyed also.
Yeah, you can use white wine sauce. You can do it in lobster sauce, Bistros of Paris. I'm sure they have all kinds. If you look it up online, you'll start to see all kinds of variations. And St. John said somewhere she might have seen very quickly that it was something from Roman times. I don't know if that's true. That would tie into the Apollo thing. And also his idea of success, as well as newspaper Ray Milland character, you know, the opulence, Arthur Kennedy. Yeah. You know, like what is success? You know, what's your idea of, you know, because he, in this scene where they're eating, you know, he says like, you know, you could have one eye on this and one eye on that. Like I forget what he says.
Your car payments.
Yeah.
Maybe?
So he's being critical in a way, you know, like, why don't you want this kind of life? You know, like if you come work for me.
Yeah.
Also play with the idea, like, I wonder if Culp wasn't in the script that way and Culp was throwing a jab at Peter Falk, but I doubt it because that would come to blows, I think.
Only approved jabs at Columbo.
Yeah, I would imagine Columbo worked with Cassavetes, and there had to be improv, I'm sure. And Peter Falk comes from the New York theater with all the Herbert Berghoff and, you know, so many great teachers there. There'd have to be the parameters set up before you went there. But that'd be interesting to find out about Kowalski, the director, and then other directors who worked with Link and Levinson and Robert F. O'Neill, if they were ever at leeway. Because if you notice, he grabs his tie, right? It hits the tomatoes, right? Because Columbo gets up and stands up. And that's not going to be in the script that the tie touches the tomatoes, I don't think. Because, you know, that's something the set decorator did. And Peter Falk's reaction to that, he laughs. It almost feels slightly out of character. It still works because it's genuine. But I almost felt like that was improv between the two of them. Like him putting the tie, like he wipes off his tie, and then Columbo laughs like, oh, got tomatoes on it, huh? But maybe it was in there. I don't know. As a good actor, you want to be able to do something like that if something happens, like something falls down on the ground. Keep the take going,
Totally.
react to it. How would you react to it,
Yeah, I love this scene. I mean, I love not only the food, but also the interaction. And like you pointed out, Mr. Brimmer's like, you could stay where you are, or you could work here, and then you might have a feeling of accomplishment.
Is that what he says?
Something like that. And Columbo just looks at him silently at that comment. No anger or malice, just kind of like takes it in. Brimmer doesn't mention this. I think it's the tour guide, one of the lower level investigators, mentions the top salary of $30,000. Mm-hmm. I don't remember who says it. Anyhow, someone mentions you could make $30,000. I went to one of these calculators for what is that in today's money? It would be $189,000 salary. So that's pretty good pay.
Yeah.
Columbo was like, whoa.
Yeah. There's a silent reaction he has. And watching it again, I watched it 3 times because I wanted to show St. John. I said, look at Peter Falk's eyes when he's sitting down and he says what you just said, you'd have a sense of accomplishment or something like that. And he's like, no, I got to talk to my wife first. And then he says something else. And then Columbo again refrains I just need to mull it over. And then Brimmer says something else. And there's a reaction of Columbo. Like you said, he just stares at him, but his mouth moves. But you don't hear anything. I wonder if he actually said something.
Wow, that's a good catch, Paul. I didn't catch that at all.
Well, it's only because I wanted St. John to see the way he was looking at him because it was so good. His eyes, just the way he looked at him was very different. Let me see if I can find it here. So it's silent. It looks like he says, okay, to that, but it's silent.
Ah,
so after he says, you'd have some kind of sense of accomplishment. And he's like,
he's like, okay. This is an important note, which I think we've probably already mentioned, but Columbo asks if he would get to keep working on the Kennicott case, and Brimmer tries to be super casual, I think we're good. And I think I might have forgotten to mention maybe that back when Columbo is in the evening with Ken Archer, and Ken Archer spilling the beans, saying, yes, we had an affair. Yes, I think we were being followed. So Brimmer calls from his home, or where I think he's at home, calls his main dude, Leo Gentry, and sends him off on a mission. So that's kind of an important little factoid. Leo Gentry is the guy who was probably following Archer and Mrs. Kennicott, and so Brimmer gets him out of the country so that Columbo can't talk to him. So then that brings us to the next scene after their lovely fish lunch. Columbo tracks down Mrs. Gentry and her son, Teddy, who's at the playground. This is a little creepy. I mean, as a mom.
Yep. No. You would never do that, right? Now you can't do that.
I would never do this. No, not unless if a child asked me, to help them off a slide or something, of course I would, do what they needed and then walk away. But Mrs. Gentry has stepped to the curb or somewhere to get her son a popsicle, which, that's why we had popsicles tonight. And while she is probably 20 feet away, or who knows, she's not far, Columbo has come up to Teddy and is pushing him on the swing.
That's what the mom does.
Exactly. So Mrs. Gentry comes up and rightfully she is concerned. She's like, hey, what's going on here?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? And she's got her popsicles, and she's got a bright red bag and a matching shirt that's striped red, white, and blue. And Mrs. Gentry doesn't trust Columbo at all, but she does, answer his questions to the best of her ability. Yeah. And she's like, if I knew about Leo's work, it'd be all over the laundromat. So he doesn't tell me. And I thought she did a pretty good job. I think she felt a little tiny bit stilted to me in her delivery. Mm-hmm. But I thought she did a good job.
Yeah. I really liked the scene of her and her husband at home. I thought that was a great scene. Mm-hmm. St. John said, my wife, she said she'd wish there was more of the husband, Leo Gentry, played by Marv Goux. 3 of those actors, like the guy that Columbo corners about information about other people at the Brimmer's place, and then Leo Gentry, and then even the traffic cop who was played by Bill Hickman, Mark Russell played the detective at the Brimmer agency that Columbo talks to. All three of those actors on IMDb, it says uncredited. So these are like speaking parts, and I'm not sure why it still goes as uncredited, but they were all three really good in their scenes.
Yeah, I didn't comment at all about the employee. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, they're all
sure.
Guy at Home was so brief, but it had this sort of, it had like a movie feel to it. Like it was like, oh, who's this? Here he's rolling around with his son. He's a family man. Then he gets a call. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. I'm on it. Reminded me of a lot of modern film.
Mm-hmm. I'll repeat this when we do our review at the end, but I totally love this episode. But one of the reasons it's probably not one of my favorites is because there's not enough women. And like in this one, there's just, Mrs. Kennicott briefly and then Mrs. Gentry briefly. But I feel like it just brings more color to the episode when there's a little bit more relationship dynamics happening. And it's not just like all these men at work in their suits, just makes it a little bit more interesting when there's a little more like real life action happening, I guess.
Yeah. Well, just it goes along with people, different backgrounds, like we were saying before. I mean, there's two African-American cops in the beginning. Well, one's a patrol, like you said, and the other one's a detective, and they each have a line, but it's just one line. Mm-hmm. And then there's the secretary, and she has a couple lines and a couple scenes. Investigator Brimmer's played by Lieux Dressler. Is like a great name. But yeah, I agree. I mean, every time I see older stuff in general, it's like you can't not help think that, whether it's Sound of Music or Gone with the Wind or whatever, it's hard not to think about that.
All right, well, we're getting near the end here. So there's a few more scenes. One, Columbo has to go to the DMV. I guess his license is expiring or something. And while he's there, a woman is taking her eye test to get her license renewed. And this is where it clicks in his mind that Mrs. Kennicott wasn't wearing glasses when they found her body. He's like, oh, that could be, that could be the key. That could be a big clue. The next scene, he brings his ID to Mr. Kennicott back at the Kennicott estate. There's a picture of Lenore Kennicott wearing glasses standing next to Mr. Kennicott. And he says, I'm sorry, Columbo, you're on the wrong path. Like she switched to contact lenses. And he's like, well, did you get those back? Maybe those were left behind at the murder scene. So Kennicott allows Columbo to basically dig up Lenore and search her remains for those contact lenses because they're not in her personal effects. They're not in the coroner's report. And so that takes us to the next scene, which is at the cemetery, the Hollywood Forever Cemetery on Santa Monica Boulevard. And this is where they're bringing up Mrs. Kennicott's body. And this cemetery, Paul, has been in at least 64 other movies and TV shows.
I'm sure.
Including LA Story, Frasier, and Bonfire of the Vanities. Those are like the ones that jumped out at me. And I was like, oh, where was it in LA Story? I couldn't figure that out. I can't see that movie unless I rent it. But I love that movie. It's a good one. And I just wanted to say this random trivia. So LA Story has this cemetery in it. It also has Tale of the Pup and is also in one of the scenes.
In this episode?
In LA Story.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen that since the theater, I think. By the way, just a little personal thing. And when Columbo gets the police escort in the beginning and he's driving, it's like the only shot of the police escort in front of him and he's behind. He's going over a bridge, like one of the LA, quote unquote, LA River areas where the water could flow through there. It's right by Universal. I used to walk there over that all the time. So he's driving on the side of the road and you can see the sidewalk. But I was working on a show that was NBC show and I would take my lunch breaks over there. But I was just kind of like, oh, hey, and there's a Toyota sign behind him. The car dealership is still there. Yeah, I don't think it's Toyota anymore. It's just like maybe it is. I can't remember, but it's a dealership. But now they have Universal posters there, billboards, big billboards when a movie comes out.
Oh, that's cool. Your little personal connection. I love it.
Yeah, my 2 seconds there.
There's a little funny moment in this scene where Brimmer arrives at the graveyard, gets in the car with Kennicott to talk about what's happening and how he doesn't think this is a good idea. He thinks it's a long shot, a waste of time, yada, yada. And then Columbo comes around to the other side, so Kennicott's other side of the backseat of his Rolls Royce or whatever, And he's like, move over. And he like gets in next to Kennicott in the back seat. So the three men are like squished together in the back seat of this Rolls Royce. And I just love that little moment where Columbo's like, move over. I got some news to share. He's so excited. So anyhow, Columbo plants the seed in front of Brimmer that one of Lenore's contact lenses is missing. So it might be at the murder scene. And he's going to try to find it. He wants a little space to do this. So he doesn't want to tell Brimmer exactly what he's doing. And Kennicott's like, I think it's okay to let him have a little space here.
Yeah.
Here, Brimmer tries to take his car home for the night, and it won't start. So it gets sent to the garage. So Brimmer goes home in a different car and starts digging.
It's before this. He goes to the cemetery. So he goes in a different car.
Oh, okay. Before the cemetery. Yeah, thanks, Paul. So he takes a different car to the cemetery. His car's at the garage. After the cemetery, he goes home, or at some point he goes home. He's digging through his crazy thick green shag carpet, trying to see if her lens is somehow in there. And Columbo shows up while he's in the middle of this. But Brimmer, he rings the doorbell. He doesn't just walk into Brimmer's home. But Columbo immediately notices the carpet.
Yeah.
He's like, wow, look at that. You could get lost for days in that. Like, I don't know if he had a sixth sense about it or what, but he's like, check out that carpet. So he shows up under the premise that he wanted to talk to Brimmer about the job offer, and he wants to turn it down. And it's because of the Kennicott case. And Brimmer's like, okay, all right. And then we get to the final scene, which is at the garage where Brimmer's car was taken because it didn't start. It's still that same night. Brimmer breaks into the garage and he searches the trunk of his car because this is the car that he used to transport Mrs. Kennicott's body. And right when he's sort of climbed in there and I think he's found something and maybe he's stepping out of the trunk, I can't remember exactly, but all the lights in the garage come on. And Brimmer's been set up. Columbo's waiting for him. Mr. Kennicott's waiting for him. There's some patrol officers waiting for him. They catch Brimmer with something in his hand. They don't see it right away, but Brimmer's like, this is ridiculous. And he goes to throw something away. He tries to light a cigarette and throw something out. And Columbo's like, grab his hand. So the patrol officer grabs Brimmer's hand and they take whatever was in his hand out of his hand, including a contact lens. And Brimmer immediately confesses. He's like, I'm sorry, Arthur. It was an accident. I didn't know her. This is like an interesting little moment. We learn a little bit about Columbo's origin story because after Brimmer's been taken away, he's walking with Mr. Kennicott. And he shares how when he was younger, he and some of the other guys would pull all kinds of pranks, including they would put a potato in a tailpipe and then that person's car wouldn't start. And he says that, I think maybe that's why I became a cop, to make up for all those pranks that I did as a kid. I don't know if that's the end. I don't know if you want to say anything else about that scene, Pablo.
Yeah, I loved that scene. I loved him doing that, like the way that Culp reacted. And he asks him, he's like, that's impossible. Like the Ray Milland character, Arthur Kennicott's like, that's impossible. Like she had the contact lenses on her. He's like, well, what did she find? And Columbo's like, I don't know what she found. He doesn't say he did it straight out, right? And then the same thing with the car. Like he said, but the car stopping, Kennicott says, well, how did you know that was luck that his car broke down? He's like, well, looking at this place, and he goes on and he responds, but you don't think he's responding to that. But he is. And he starts talking about this place reminds me of, and he also understands going on intuition, so to speak. There's a certain wisdom when you're going with that sort of direction, which would be a feeling, a sign kind of thing. I loved this feeling. This particular scene was great because he's setting him up. Or he set him up, it was great. Because they had to wait. It's like he's searching in that trunk for a while, and then he finds something. And then as he's closing the door or whatever, the trunk, then the lights flash on, And he knows he better watch him because he gets his cigarettes, he's walking away, he's going to throw away the contact lens. He's going to do something with it. And he's like, grab his hand. He knows it's not in the pocket anymore.
Yeah, it's funny the way Columbo answers questions sometimes, just like you said, you're like, are you answering the question? I don't know. But then it turns out that he is answering the question. It's just maybe not exactly what you were expecting to hear. Well, should we wrap up with our overall rating?
Yeah.
I guess for me, I love Robert Culp, so I would say this is up there among the stronger episodes. It was a little, like I mentioned, not as many kind of relationships, like when there's more female characters often. It felt maybe a little darker or heavier than some of my all-time favorites for some reason. I think, the lighting and very much it's like men in suits. I think I have to give this one like a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe an 8. I don't know. Somewhere around there.
I was going to say 8.7 because it had that one scene and the sort of Culp brings you along. But I haven't weighed in what you were saying, and I think that's important.
No, that's true. That is a really good scene.
But I do think, like you said, like Ray Milland, he got an Oscar for The Lost Weekend. That was years ago. He played an alcoholic character, and I've seen that. I thought he was really good. When I see him, he's very staunch, very serious, and he had this heaviness, like a sort of a sadness, which I guess that's what the character would have. But it's almost like I feel bad for him in some ways. Culp had that room, right? Culp is the killer. You're talking about how much you loved watching him, and I did too. Milland is such a great actor. He's a heavy hitter, and he delivered. I wish he'd had a little more variety, like Culp did, and of course Peter Falk.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, there is this sort of darkness with the shots in the beginning of the film, or just throughout the film with a lot of the lighting. Yeah, you can't see Peter Falk in some of the scenes. It's really interesting. But I was really impressed with the writing and where it goes, and the sort of competitive thing between the two of them. The title is Death Lends a Hand, and Culp is death lending his hand to Columbo when he reads the ring, when he feels the ring, right? So he's lending his hand, which I thought was St. John. My wife brought that up to me. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I didn't think of that either. I just thought it was him using his hand.
Yeah, that's what I thought the first time. But she's like, well, he says something like that, like, I'm going to lend a hand, or, he's helping with the investigation. Well, what else about the astrology, but the palmistry thing?
Palmistry,
yeah. It was sort of like, he said, I'll make a believer of you. And it's just sort of, it goes back to his intuition and his tie to that. It's sort of like, if you have a belief in something greater than you that has helped guide you, which I think Columbo sort of understands that. He's not getting religious, obviously, but Culp doesn't have that, right? Because otherwise, I don't think, or maybe he does.
I don't think he'd be blackmailing people if he had that.
You can have people like that. I really do. I think there are people who do really bad things and understand that there's consequences, but they do it anyway. They're almost not even in control, This was my favorite compared to the ones we've seen. So I think I ranked it 8.7. I think the last one was like 8.5 maybe.
Yeah. Well, do you have a trivia for me this time, Paul?
Do you have a trivia for me?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I got a trivia for you. So our mom used to read palms.
That's true. That's true, right? You remember that, right?
Yeah. It's true. I don't know how much she thought it was true, if it was a gag.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. It might have been a gag.
One of the lieutenants of the LA area came into my house and was like going through my books and stuff one day.
What?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's false.
Okay, no on that for sure. Any questions about it?
Came into your current house?
Yeah, where I live now.
Looked at your books?
Yeah, I was looking at my books, sort of commenting about what I had on the shelf.
No.
Wait, okay, maybe I should just tell you. Yeah, it's true.
That's true? Paul, what was going on? You can't let a cop in your house.
Yeah, it was one of our kids was friends with his kid. And he actually commented on a book of Susan Sontag, a book that Susan Sontag's son had published. He's like, oh, I haven't read that one. So it was very interesting. It was a book of letters that it was diary stuff that Susan Sontag, she's a filmmaker, but she's mostly known as an art critic. She dated Anna Leibovitz for a while. She's well known for her book on photography. I like some of her work. So that was very interesting. So the third one is Pueblo Indian read my palm.
I don't know, Paul. Could it be a different Indian read your palm, or Native American? Is that what the trick is there?
No, it's a Pueblo Indian. He's deceased now. He's an author. His name is Patrick Quirk. Speaking Wind. But he said, as a kid, he grew up in New Mexico on a reservation. His first book was When Spirits Touch the Red Path. He said that was something that they always did, was read palms in his community. It showed you, he said, that if you had a triangle at a certain point on your hand, I mean, I Xeroxed my hand because he used a pen, that if you had the certain triangle up by your pinky, if you had a few of them or one of them, it meant that you would be coming back again to live life again in another body.
I don't see any triangles.
Yeah.
I don't have any triangles.
It'd be the top left, I think.
I don't see any.
Well, I'll take a look next time I see you.
This is it. This is the only life I get, huh? Is that what you're saying?
I'll have to look at it. You'd be surprised what's there.
That's awesome. Wow. Good job, Paul.
Well, I was trying to find something that was like, related to Peter Falk somehow. I still have a couple in the back of my head, but for another day.
Save it for another day. Save it for next time. Okay, well, let's say thank you to Maxime Gervais for our theme song, Columbo.
Thank you, Maxime.
Thank you. And if you'd like to add to our conversation, you can email us at trenchcoatcigar@gmail.com. It's all one word. Or you can find us on Instagram at trenchcoatcigar, all one word. And Paul, I got just one more thing.
What?
Thanks for listening.
Polypassagère, rien à foutre devant l'expertise policière. T'avais un plan sans faille, pensez à chaque détail. L'inspecteur Columbo pensera toujours en dehors de la